I am deeply concerned about the escalating repression of First Amendment protected speech and assembly on college campuses across our country. To all the elected university boards and appointed presidents, it needs to be very clear, your students' constitutional rights doesn't end when they enter your campus grounds. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to submit for the record the statements from the ACLU and from Bend the Arc.
Without objection.
In the ACLU statement, Mr. Speaker, it says, quote, as you fashion responses to the activism of your students and faculty and staff, it is essential that you not sacrifice principles of academic freedom and free speech that are at a core to the educational mission of your respected institutions. From Bend the Arc statement, protest, quote, protest is essential to our movement work and must be protected. And we firmly stand against anti-Semitism being used as an excuse to threaten free speech and criticism of university and U.S. policy. To be clear, criticism of American policy towards Israel is not inherently anti-Semitic, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, dissent is a fundamental American value. From the civil rights movement to anti-war protests to the movement for Black lives, immigrant rights, our country has a long history of student-leading movements for change and challenging the status quo that oppresses and normalizes genocides across the world. I am deeply moved by the courageous young people in more than 100 encampments at colleges across our nation that are demanding divestment in support of a genocide in Gaza and apartheid government of Israel. I had the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to visit an encampment, University of Michigan, that has public programming. They put it online for families and on various issues. The day I went, they were recognizing the anniversary of the Armenian genocide and having someone also speak about the connectivity to the Palestinian Nakba. It was inspiring to see these brave students across races of all faiths and backgrounds standing side by side in solidarity to protest for peace. From Jumu'ah prayer to Shabbat, they are coming together in a way I wish my colleagues would welcome. Sending in militarized police forces and even snipers to stop these students for exercising their First Amendment right is truly disgusting. My colleagues are so outraged by students opposing genocide and apartheid, but many of these same members were completely silent last year when we saw the dramatic increase of threats, literally death threats, on historical Black colleges and universities across the country. These state-sanctioned violence, including the arrest and threatened felony prosecutions of students, can only be seen as an explicit effort to silence students and take away their First Amendment rights. No student, Mr. Speaker, not one, should be met with academic repercussions or policy brutality on their own campuses for exercising peacefully their right to free speech and assembly. Why is it, Mr. Speaker, that my colleagues and every headline from mainstream media is more concerned and outraged about these protests than they are about the over 35,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza? 70% of them are women and children. There are no universities left in Gaza. No outrage. Multiple mass graves have been uncovered at several locations that Israeli forces have recently withdrawn from. 200 bodies found at El Shifa Hospital, literally fresh bodies found with their hands tied behind their backs, naked. Where is the outrage for these war crimes? And this is not just me. This is the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Our government isn't just complicit to this genocide, we're actively participating. Students are occupying their campuses to peacefully protest for an end to these atrocities and divestment in this genocide and apartheid. They are even renaming some of the buildings after Palestinian children that have been killed. These students should be praised for standing up for what they believe in, not vilified, smeared with misinformation campaigns and silence. I call on these universities to end the repressive tactics, to exercise restraint, to denounce the ongoing police brutality and stop suppressing the very activism, academic freedom, and thoughtful debate that they seek to inspire in their students. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to see an apology years later. No. We want to see action today to protect these students. We don't want to have you all in 10 years praise the same students for doing what was right years later. We don't want to see that. We need it now. They deserve it now.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. The